with your favorite lawyers from around the interwebs, discussing the most pressing of topics every Friday at noon Eastern Time.
Oh,
all right. We are here and we've arrived, and I decided that probably the first topic we should discuss is the debate. But in order to discuss the debate, I would like to present everybody with a brief recap of one of the more important moments of the debate that somebody had fun with.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs. The people that came in, they're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. Yeah! And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame. They're eating the dogs.
It's the greatest thing ever. It's the greatest thing ever made.
They're eating the dogs.
Oh! You should expect to get coffee claimed, Eric.
Yeah, dogs. People on television.
So good.
That's a good point.
It's amazing. That's a work of art.
My favorite meme in forever.
I'm here 2 minutes late and I missed already the whole topic.
Oh my God.
No one will penalize you for playing again. Come on.
No, sorry, dude. I can only get copy claimed once on. No, I'm just
okay.
Not the rumor, but that guy made that remix thinking it would make Trump look bad.
Yes,
and everybody loves it,
yes.
And it's the greatest thing ever.
He shut his account down. He locked his account and everything on X.
I don't want to be stupid. Was that Hassan Piker?
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't sure,
but he didn't make the video. He was just the idiot they used. But it was so well played. I mean, his screaming at there, lining up the screams. I love the strobe warning, by the way. That was, I mean, it was almost too well done, and I think that's why it backfired.
Come on, play it again. Come on, you're not gonna.
All right, no, we can't. But we're gonna get into.
Oh my God, I'm gonna have to just log off and watch it, and then I'll have to go back.
Ron, it's a technical. What is it? Not technic.
Techno.
Techno. God, I'm such an idiot. It's a techno remix of Trump saying they're eating the dogs, and it's great music. It's like the scene from Trainspotting when they're dancing at the club.
Oh, so Eric is afraid that I'm gonna have like an epileptic.
Oh my God! Okay, Ron. Let me.
And by the way, if it looked like I was disgusted when I was with my dog, Winston ate a bunch of crap this morning. So anybody who even wants to eat that dog has to wait until he digests. He ate the neighbor's cat's poop. Outside. It's disgusting.
Little dogs are the worst.
Yeah. Terriers.
All right. Well,
one more time. Besides, some people come into the stream late. Yeah.
All right. Geez, Ron's gonna keep crying. I'm
strobe warning. See, I was right.
They're eating the dogs.
Ron, you get the idea now.
the bouncing Trump heads out.
Have to play it again.
That is insane. How did this guy possibly think that this was true? Going to be good for their side.
It's beautiful
because
they're eating the dogs.
The left can't mean.
And this is what happened.
Anyway, Hassan Piker is the perfect foil to put in that track too. That's also known as Chank's nephew. But Hassan Piker was at least for a minute the largest streamer on Twitch. Complete lefty, hardcore.
Oh, he
psycho.
Said some bad things.
Well, yeah, on every day that ends with Y. Pretty much, yeah.
I guess technically, if you call Saturday the Sabbath, that ends in an H, so maybe he gets one day off. Okay, bada bing, bada boom.
Okay.
Oh man.
All right, so let's go ahead and actually talk about the debate and what's going on here. Nate shared a story with me, which was quite surprising. I don't know if it's a factor, but the debate moderator, I'd say by most counts, now Nate, I think is going to argue on this, the debate moderators were part of the debate. So Trump was effectively debating three people, not one person. And one of the moderators, as a matter of fact, supposedly went to the same sorority as Kamala Harris. So they're sorority sisters. I'm going to assume it wasn't at the same time because she's pretty young. And I think that Kamala's a little slow, but I don't think she's like going back to school 30 years later. But that is interesting question. I don't remember who it is, but some member of ABC is either the president of ABC News formerly or somebody running the network supposedly introduced Kamala Harris to her husband. So there is a very distinct tie there. What do you guys think about what went down?
See, I didn't join a fraternity or a sorority. And so when I think about this, I think there's nothing of it because I sometimes find them silly. But people who do take it seriously might actually, oh, this is a sorority sister of mine. I got to treat her different. So I don't know, but I'm not in that club. So I don't really have a thought on it.
See, I kind of feel like, oh, that's interesting. Somebody said Kamala did not go to the Netanyahu speech, but went to her sorority party.
Okay, see, so they take it more seriously because they're part of it.
How would I guess my thought would be, I would just see a natural kinship of like-minded people, probably. Like the people in her sorority probably have very similar values as she had while she was in the sorority. So I mean, I could be wrong.
No, but what the controversy is that they were in the same sorority years apart. I don't know how long ago. The telltale sign that they are on the same ideological page is that they're on the same ideological page. This is a news anchor at ABC who's ideologically aligned with Kamala Harris. The network has been defending them. Which one was it that hid the Epstein story? Was it ABC or NBC or CBS?
ABC. I think it was ABC.
Yeah, it was ABC. Yeah.
So I don't care that they went to that's the least conclusive piece of evidence. The most conclusive evidence that they are ideologically and aligned and working in tandem was that debate. I just posted the clip of David Muir asking Trump about Jan 6 and whether or not he would have done anything differently. And he says, "Okay, I didn't do anything wrong. It was all Nancy Pelosi." And then Muir, after the question, says, "Yeah, well, I'm asking about you, not Nancy Pelosi. Moving on." I mean, it was a joke, bias moderated debate. But the only question is, the fact that Trump missed some lob ball home runs that he could have.
Oh my God! Yeah.
Anyone feel though, like over my entire adult life, I feel like the debates have been hosted this way, where the moderators, for the most part, are very left-leaning and ask the hardball questions to the
they fake it better though.
Candidate.
They fake it better. I mean, one way they normally do is they ask harder questions of the conservative and softer, but they do at least pretend that they're fact checking both ways if they're doing both ways, or they don't fact check at all. Like with Biden, in fairness with Trump, Biden, Tapper did a pretty good job. I mean, I don't have that many complaints about it. He let him go and asked the questions. He
did stop him a few times when he started rambling. You could see him sort of try to back off. All right, stop talking, please. And move on to the next question.
But overall,
I'm debating something. I'm going to talk about it when I go live a little later. Like I'm debating whether or not I do not believe that the eating the cats and the eating dogs is a lie. I don't believe that it's been confirmed yet, but the question is if some of the people repeating it are doing it as a strategic tactical lie to get people to focus on Springfield, I'm not sure morally and intellectually how I'd feel about that.
JD Vance in an interview kind of implied that could be happening.
No, I saw that clip. I saw that clip.
Like I said, or it could be inferred from what he said. It's close. It's
what he said was we're hearing people on the ground talking about this, period. I mean, we've seen people at city council meetings talking about it. I'm inclined to believe that it's actually happening because of 20,000 people, and I don't care where they're from, you're going to have a handful, let's just say 6 of them who do something horrendous. I mean, freaking Ozzy Osbourne bit the head off a bat. So I have no problem believing that it actually happens. And
now, do you know the Ozzy Osbourne story, by the way?
Yeah, he thought it was a rubber bat, and they threw it on stage, and he did it.
Right, yeah, but because it does add some levels,
Yes, but the whole point is, I'm saying ridiculous things happen statistically when you have 20,000 people, and what they seem to be doing is saying they're not eating cats and dogs, but they're eating ducks and geese out of the park, which seem to be more of the confirmed stories.
No,
probably
I
gonna
did
be-
now too. I did see a body cam footage. Now I don't know the authenticity of it. I saw a body cam, which purports to be from August 24th, I believe, or fairly recently, of a woman who may be Haitian
No, but
immigrant.
that's been she wasn't. It was a
Has that
black
been
woman.
debunked?
It
Is
was
this
no,
one
it was a
in
black
Canton?
woman, but she wasn't Haitian. She's apparently American citizen, at least according to 2018 voting records. And it was well away from Springfield anyhow. It was like 150 miles.
That was Canton, I think. The Canton
Okay.
one.
So but see, that's where I get very suspicious, because the more they, run hard to debunk this with that one element, and the more they freak out about people saying it, the more I'm inclined to believe that it's true. When Swalwell gets up at a congressional hearing, whatever, and cries about it, I think it's true now, because the liars are saying that it's not true. And I know that all they do is lie.
But one thing is for sure, trotting out the police to say that there's no problem here is just about the least convincing thing you could do, short of trotting out the FBI.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
No,
the mayor, the governor
city
are
manager.
all going to be like, yeah, no, there's no problem here. They're not going to come out and say, yes, we have this issue, or even if it's an unconfirmed one report, they're not going to come out and definitively say that it happened.
Well, but also notice that they don't say there are no reports. They say there have been no credible reports. So I mean, it's such a.
Well, they didn't even say that. They just said we can't verify today.
No, I think they said that they well, at least the fact checker David Weir said that they've received no credible reports that this happened, which means they've received reports. They've just deemed them not to be credible. Bunch of wordsmithing scoundrels.
Well, where we can start to ask questions about it is there's a nice article here about Lindsay Davis holding his feet to the fire and how she became ABC's News rising star. Couple pull quotes from there that somebody already did on X, which makes life easier. Davis, wearing pink glasses while speaking at the Times over breakfast at the Ritz-Carlton in Philadelphia, said the decision to attempt to correct the candidates was in response to the June 27th CNN debate between Trump and President Biden, whose poor performance led to his exit from the race. People were just concerned that the statements were allowed to just hang and not be disputed by the candidate Biden at the time or the moderators, Davis said. That implies that she's literally saying, we were in there, we're doing it deliberately.
That's interesting. There's a news story that broke, or not broke, but an opinion panel that came out of Sweden just last week. That, and the title of the segment was, "Is Barack Obama the puppet master behind all of this?" And that's so it's at least Sweden's position on this whole fiasco is that Obama is in the background there, sort of controlling everybody from behind. And it seems like somebody might be. I don't know if it's him, but
what part are we talking about? Not the eating of dogs and cats.
No. We're talking about the switch from Biden to Kamala.
He's why Biden dropped out. I mean, he absolutely is behind that.
I don't think. Okay, I'm going to push back because I don't necessarily know that he's behind her getting it, though. He's behind Biden dropping out, but I always look back to the letter and his resignation letter, which, of course, as a president, unlike LBJ, where you do a 40-minute television presentation stating why you're not going to run for re-election, you post a letter on Twitter. That's perfectly standard. He did not anywhere in that letter mention her other than she did a great job. He did not endorse her. That is the place you would endorse her, saying, but he literally said the party will pick it. Then all of a sudden, poof, within 30 minutes, a tweet comes out saying,
why would you think that he would? That's exactly what I would expect someone who is doing it to write.
Well, yeah, they did it because they can't upset Kennedy. And it wasn't Obama calling Biden. It was.
Well, hold on. They can't
Michelle
upset Kennedy. Who's going to worry about upsetting Kennedy?
Well, I mean, there's like people in the Democratic Party that would want to, take that position moving forward. Other than
believe me, Bobby Kennedy. I think the Democrats hate him slightly more than Trump.
Yeah, you think so?
Oh, well, okay. Everybody.
Well, now definitely.
Well, no. I mean, the whole time. How many of you think that the Democrats like RFK?
Oh no, not at all.
He's despised because he's worse than Trump. I mean,
But they love Cheney. They love
an
Dick Cheney
apostate.
now.
Exactly.
Can you? It's amazing. They have welcomed with open arms a war criminal and pushed out with closed fists RFK Jr. I mean, it's and they're proud about it. Where they tout this as a success.
You know, Viva, you know this. I mean, RFK traditionally has been pretty much as far left as they come, but maybe not to the extreme that Harris is. But he's always been, and he's made no bones about it. He's a Democrat. He's got liberal principles, and that's fine. He endeared himself to a lot on the right because he pushed back on some of the COVID nonsense. And so he kind of has this little gravitas now in the conservative movement. And certainly now that he's endorsed Trump, he does, but he's a traditional Democrat. Always, he wanted to run as a Democrat, and of course they shut him out because they're the party of democracy. They shut him out. But absolutely. So they embrace the vice president of a Republican administration, and 2-term, by the way, Dick Cheney and others.
Who they used to call Satan, by the way.
Huh?
Satan,
They called him Satan.
Oh,
No, they
yeah.
called Dick Cheney Satan.
No,
Literally.
yeah, but now he's called celeb. He's like the sweetheart and the darling now. It's all
So
about
this is my turn. It's my turn to push back now.
the history of today.
Lawyers, admission by a party opponent. When you use an admission by a party opponent in a trial as an exception to hearsay or as non-hearsay, I don't remember which it is, you're not saying that therefore I adopt the position of my opponent. You're saying if even this SOB says this, you know it's true because it goes against his interests. So they're saying if even this representative of Satan, of the right-wing Nazis, says in a moment of lucidity that Trump is the worst thing that could happen to the country, even he's saying that. So independents, listen, we're not saying that if given the opportunity we would vote for Dick Cheney, but we are saying even this bastard says it. Is that really so insane?
No, but it is.
Except that you're missing the fact that independents, I think, have no use for Dick Cheney's opinion whatsoever.
But I think even the independents, and I would say even especially the independents, absolutely hate Dick Cheney. I don't think there's any.
But it's not. But I still think it's not really fair to say, "Oh, now they love Dick Cheney." They're not really saying that. They're saying.
I don't think. Well, first, I don't think they're saying. I don't think they're saying anything. In fact, I think what they're saying is probably more along the lines of what we're saying. Keep this guy to yourself, and this might be evidence as to how evil the Democrat Party has become. But it's a little different than saying, "Ron, to steelman it back." We're not saying even this scoundrel admits how bad Trump is. What I think reasonable people are saying is this is the worst man on earth who has given the worst, most dishonest advice on earth, and I'm not going to listen to him now just because he is saying it now, and it might, be aligned with what the Democrats want. So I don't think there's any reasonable person who is swayed by this. And if I'm a Democrat, I'm like, keep that demonic, satanic force out of here. I want to have nothing to do with him.
Yeah. So that makes the question. What would be? I'm sorry. What would be an analogous situation?
David Duke endorsing Donald Trump and his
no,
it might be Joe Biden. It might be Joe Biden wearing the MAGA hat. If Joe Biden comes around and says Kamala's really, really effing bad, vote for Trump.
Then the 25th Amendment would be invoked instantaneously.
Yeah, there you go.
But think of how Trump pushed back in the debate when he was talking about all these Republicans that are supposedly for Kamala, and he's like, I fired all of them, right? So obviously they have bad blood. Remember,
that was a good one.
And remember, Liz Cheney, Cheney's daughter, went after Trump hard, and so Trump pushed back. And of course, maybe Dick's gonna be like, "Hey, that's my daughter," sort of thing. Well, I mean, he's got other motivations.
Liz Cheney, you want to talk about pushback? She lost the primary so hard. I believe it was the worst loss of an incumbent in history. She lost by 40 points. 40 points.
You got to remember these senators and congressmen. Got to remember that you're on a national stage, but the entire nation isn't your constituency. They're not the ones voting for you. So, and she, I think, learned that the hard way. But still, Trump went after her, and that's his daughter. So he's got motivation, just like those others that he fired. Are all anti-Trump now.
Yeah, he also likes war a lot, and Trump doesn't. So there's another motive.
It was the largest margin of defeat. It was it was the second worst for a House Democrat incumbent in 60 years. Behind Bob Inglis.
You said House. Oh,
Democrat. She's a Republican.
Yeah, she's a Republican.
I said House incumbent. Hold on. What the hell is my problem? Cheney,
you said incumbent.
I said incumbent.
He said House Democrat incumbent because that's what she is.
Yeah, you did say Democrat.
She lost 28.9% to Hagerman's 66%. Her margin of defeat was the second worst in a House incumbent in the last 60 years.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Oh, Phil's gonna have to go quickly. So he has Fani Willis news today. 3 big news items. He says he can summarize in 8 minutes. Go. No.
Okay. Right. So I just finished. I was live streaming on my channel Inside the Law. I was live streaming a Georgia Senate investigative committee hearing where they subpoenaed Fanny Willis. They've been looking into her office, all the shenanigans, all the stuff that we've been talking about, and they wanted to wrap up their work by subpoenaing her, and also not just her testimony, documents and text messages with her lover and emails and all kinds of stuff. They're looking to create some new legislation that reins in how DA's offices do business so they can't run amok like she has. So that's what this committee hearing is all about. So she hired former governor of Georgia, Roy Barnes, to represent her. He's a lawyer, so he's almost retired. I thought he was retired, but he filed a motion to quash. All the judges in Fulton County recused themselves. They didn't want to hear it. So it's the subpoena is still valid. Note they need to assign some other judge from outside the county to hear it at some point, but it wasn't quashed, and she just didn't show up. I'm told she's in D.C. today speaking at some kind of women's thing. But she's not where she's supposed to be, according to subpoena. Her lawyer didn't even show up. Nobody showed up. So as we speak right now, that committee is in executive session with their own lawyer, the lawyer that represents in the litigation counsel, then they are deciding what they're going to do. Obviously, they're going to hold her in contempt, I think. But then the question is, what can they do to give teeth to that? So that's the first thing. That was very interesting. And, I'll plug my own channel. Go back and watch it. It's very interesting hearing, even though Willis wasn't there. Very dramatic at the end, too. It's about an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes long, that hearing was. Also, there's a lawyer who is a friend of mine, and you might have heard of her. Her name is Ashley Merchant. While I was in the middle of that stream, she sent me an email and a text. And so apparently, Ashley, she's the Aaron Brockovich of this whole thing. She uncovered the Nathan Ware affair and all that, or exposed it. So she was trying to get a bunch of documents out of Willis and the DA's office, and they weren't providing them. She did lots of Open Records Act requests, FOIA type things here in Georgia, and Willis is hiding the documents. So she had to sue Willis. So that's a separate civil case that Ashley's law firm has against Willis and the DA's office and the county for not providing records. And so they had a hearing on it a week or so ago where there was a motion to dismiss it and to get Willis out of the case and all this stuff. And the Judge Krause, who is the same one who disqualified the Young Thug previous trial judge, by the way, Judge Krause denied the dismissal and is ruling against Willis almost at every turn. So guess what Willis does? She files a very long motion that I haven't digested yet, a motion to recuse Judge Krause. So she's trying to get rid of judges who rule against her. She's not showing up and honoring her subpoenas. And, she's just generally running amok. And on top of that, there's the third thing, Eric, that I wanted to point out, and we can talk about all this too. Yesterday, the judge in the Trump RICO case tossed 3 counts, two of which are applicable to Donald Trump, and he left open. I haven't fully digested that order, but Donald Trump's lawyer sent it to me last night. It's long, and I noticed in one of the footnotes that it seems like that judge he's not addressing some of the arguments made in the briefs to dismiss the entire indictment. He said because the parties involved, all of them, have not had a chance to fully brief the issue of presidential immunity in light of the recent Supreme Court ruling. So it seems like he's holding open the possibility that some or maybe all of this indictment might be affected by the presidential immunity ruling. So we got a lot of things up in the air. Fanny Willis is still not following the law. She's trying to throw a weight around, get rid of judges, and blow off the state Senate subpoena. All sorts of stuff going on with her.
Wow.
Interesting.
Where do you see it going?
Well, I mean, I think she's going to ultimately be disqualified. That argument's coming up in the Court of Appeals in December. I think she's going to be disqualified, but we won't see any briefing on the presidential immunity issue until that's over with, because as it pertains to most of the defendants, the proceedings are stayed. So they're not going to be doing any additional briefing or arguing of motions to dismiss until after that takes place in December. So we may have to wait a while. But I think the case ultimately, one way or another, it's dying on the vine. It's slowly crumbling. It's not going to come to trial anytime soon if it's anything left to come to trial. I think she's going to lose on her motion to recuse the judge that's ruling against her. See, she just doesn't like it. Anytime the judges don't rule the way she wants, she thinks they need to just be replaced, right? so she's not going to win on that either. That's kind of my knee-jerk reaction.
What about her in the news? I guess it's really kind of irrelevant. You say, "Oh, that's my friend. Who cares?" But showing up for her daughter's arrest with the old Nathan Wade in company.
It certainly raises the question. I mean, was she being truthful? Was he being truthful when they said that the affair was over? Maybe it was over. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was and it restarted. But I think the point, I think it's obvious that there's still kind of an item now. The big question that I have, and maybe you guys can help, because I honestly don't know. People have messaged me, and I've looked at that video, the officer's body camera video. First off, as a former police officer, I would never let anybody else just roll up on my traffic stop like that. Number one, but the question is, were they driving an official county vehicle? I don't know. Some people have told me that they were, and some people have said they can't be. I don't know. All we see is the officer's body camera. And regardless, Nathan Wade was driving. So if it's a county vehicle, was he driving a county vehicle? If so, why? And the big thing is, it looks like, if you look at that video, there might be some flashing strobes on that vehicle. Some people say, well, it's just because it was a digital body cam recording LED lights on the, but it's not the headlights. It was the parking lights look like they are strobing, like maybe like in a police type car.
So if that was the case, you would let a police vehicle pull up on your stop?
I would let a police vehicle pull up on my stop. Yes. And that's why I don't know. I mean, some of you folks that are much more tech savvy than I am might want to look at that video and give your thoughts on it. Nate used to be, weren't you were a cop too, Nate, right? So, y'all can look at this and tell me what you think, because I honestly don't know, but I would love to figure it out.
Yeah, but this wasn't in her county, right? This wasn't in Fulton County, right?
Yeah, it was in another jurisdiction nearby.
Yeah, because I'm not even sure if that's the case. Your police, because I know in certain places, like if you're a police officer in this particular town, you can't go to the next town and use all your police stuff. Right?
Yeah, well, she's not a police officer anyway, but she's the DA. I mean, I don't begrudge her from having a county issued car, and I'm not saying that she was in one, but I'm saying it looked like it could be, and I don't know.
But should he be driving it if he is not a county employee?
No. If it's a county car, it should be.
But that I would say this, but I don't think anybody's really gonna knock you for that. That's it's not really a big deal, because I know we used to get pinged for shit like that. And they're just gonna, it's like, are you gonna prosecute him for that? She can say I was tired and I had him drive. But I do think the implications of the relationship are probably the things that's going to be the most interesting, because like she was saying, this is over, blah, blah, blah. Now they could have gotten back together, but I think it still brings a lot of questions on whether she was being candid with the tribunal, because I think she was lying, and I think most of us would agree that she was obviously lying about that relationship, right? And the nature of the relationship.
I share your opinion 100%.
And again, without a private investigator peeping in the window, we're not going to necessarily know for sure. We're going to speculate on, whether she's lying or telling the truth. And they're being together, technically, if they are close friends, I have to say it's possible that some people date and then become just friends later, blah, 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 whatever. I don't believe it, but it is always possible.
I don't believe it in a heartbeat. I'm wondering how this would affect like the Young Thug trial, the YSL trial. That is an insane thing. And I know she's not the prosecutor that's heading up the prosecution, but it's her office.
And her name is on the indictment, and her name is on certain pleadings in the case. So she's 100% on that team. She's not in court every day, but she's the captain of that ship. And
she also filed some motions when with regard to Judge what's his name when he was getting removed and all this stuff. So they also filed a motion to remove the prosecutors, the assigned prosecutors on the case, the assistant DAs, and Willis signed off on the brief in opposition to that. So she signed a lot of stuff. Yeah. It's that whole case is insane. The case against Trump is insane. She just rules her little kingdom is what she thinks that she can do.
That's right.
That's what this is. This is, you've heard of like black robe syndrome. Well, she's got that prosecutorial. I'm the chief law enforcement officer in these parts.
Yep.
I could do no wrong.
Oh, you can look, she goes by Madam DA. Even when she was the DA elect, she was signing her emails, Madam DA elect, and that's what she wants people to call her, is Madam DA.
Anybody who signs their with the title, unless it's doctor, even then.
I don't like Esquire either. I don't
call yourself
all you
Esquire.
attorneys that put Esquire after your name. I hate it. You do it,
That's
fine. I'll forgive you, but I don't like it.
Can I address? I agree. And the reason it's in, you see it on the screen now. It's on my X username because Phil Holloway was unavailable, and other attorneys put that on there. And I would rather not even have to have it in my Twitter name.
No, that's different. There's no comparison.
I don't put it behind my name. I mean, I would address other lawyers as Esquire, but it's humility. We're supposed to be sort of humble, and so when you address yourself, you don't put Esquire behind your own name, but I see lawyers that sign it on their letters and emails and all this stuff. I don't like it.
I would say I do like seeing it as on a YouTube copyright dispute, because I think it just juices things a little bit when it's signed with such and such Esquire.
Yeah,
because it's kind of sending a little bit of a signal.
Maybe.
There's appropriate times to use it and appropriate times not to. If I'm sending it to another lawyer in the case, I'm going to put Esquire. But if I'm sending it to the friend, some people just like to have that bolster. But I don't do it personally. But
I think we should be called doctors, by the way, because
that's 100%. So I used to teach part time at a local college, and I taught constitutional law to criminal justice majors. And even though I was part time, they called me doctor because I guess it helps their, they get accreditation based on how many doctors that they have on faculty versus people that have less than a doctorate. So they paid me as if I were a PhD because I have a doctor of jurisprudence.
Yeah, but it's a terminal degree, because I know when I was at the law school.
Yeah, it is terminal. For
that was that means not the highest you can get in the thing, but. When we were trying to get, because I was going to go for what's it called, tenure, and usually you need a PhD, but they were saying if you're a lawyer within the field, as long as you practice, your degree as a juris doctor qualify. It's essentially like equivalent.
I have to say that I kind of lean, if people are going to make fun of Dr. Jill Biden, they should make fun of lawyers calling themselves doctor.
Well, I'm going to start booking my hotels and flights.
The medical doctor being doctor versus degree people, tack on a PhD, tack on.
In America, JDs simply are not doctors.
Yes.
It's no matter, we can rationalize as much as we want,
but it's not happening.
Hey, but if it means that I get paid more when I teach part time at the college, I'm all for it.
It does. That's what it means, though. It doesn't mean that.
Doesn't it bother you, Dr. Phil?
You look.
Why?
Nobody calls me Dr. Phil. Come on. All right. Hey, look, I got to run, but thanks for letting me pop in and share the news. And happy Friday to all the Legal Friday folks watching. Love being here with you guys.
Take care,
Hey,
Phil.
love having you too, man. All right. So we got to jump to by popular demand in the chat. We have Nate here, and so he must discuss the story that will never go away, which keeps on giving. America's super mayor. Nate, what's going on?
Oh, yarn. Okay. So past couple of days they've been having. So for those of you who know who Tiffany Hinyard is, she is the chief warlord of a place in Illinois called the South Suburbs of Illinois, and I call her chief warlord because she's essentially hiring child blank offenders to go into people's houses. All the money's gone, and recently she had a party for the residents. Where like 70 residents showed up, and she paid $80-something thousand, so essentially like $1,200 per person, to allow them taxpayer money to just to party. So it's an insane story of corruption.
Wait. She brought these people around. How is it that she ended up using taxpayer dollars?
She uses taxpayer dollars to have these parties.
Oh,
so with the way she does it is that they'll give you a credit card, like you know how if you work for a municipality,
yeah.
I had a credit card when I worked for the city of New York, and you can only use that credit card for certain things. Well, she's used it to pay for these parties. So, for instance, they had R&B singer come, so they paid her $30,000 for a half-hour set, which is great money. They had a rapper come, and they paid him $20,000 for a half-hour set. So, and they're doing all of this with credit cards. So the town was like, well, hold on. We specifically said you can't hold this event, but then you still held the event, but instead of using it, I think you paid it with credit card. So it's a whole bunch of stuff like that. But essentially, she is known now as the most corrupt mayor in America. And again, like there's one clip of her. She was with the she was at the the city council meeting, the town meeting, and she was telling residents to pay their taxes. So she played Rihanna's "Be Better Have My Money," telling residents that they better pay her. And she was dressed as crack dealing gangster Nino Brown while she was playing this song. So she's in there telling the townspeople, "You bitch better have my money," dressed as a crack dealing gangster, telling them to pay their taxes. So this is like wild. So the FBI is now involved, and they essentially have indicted her police chief. So her police chief is facing 9 counts federal indictment. Her number 2, they indicted him for bankruptcy, so he's facing 5 years in jail. And she's paid her family, she's paid her friends, like everybody's on the payroll. Her boyfriend's on the payroll, everybody's on the payroll. And the town went from having a $3 million, $3 or $4 million surplus to now being $6 million in the hole.
But Nate, Chicago, Illinois, still anything?
Hold
So,
on.
yeah.
But I got to inject on that, Ron, because guess who's investigating her?
Oh, yeah.
Lori Lightfoot, former mayor of Chicago, which, by the way, I have to give the whole world credit here. Everybody is so happy to see the Batman villain, Lori Lightfoot, voted out of Chicago, only to bring in a new guy who's even worse. So anyway, sorry, I had to inject. So Chicago's in the mix. Don't worry, Ron.
So it even gets so she's done her investigation, but so we're talking about the Illinois state government. Now, this is one of those weird cases where the governor he literally gave a press conference. He knows about all the corruption, knows about everything. He's like, all right, they're not doing anything. The attorney general knows about all the corruption. Matter of fact, even gave a binding opinion saying, hey, but you're violating the law. They're not doing anything. The comptroller, the person who handles all the money, she knows about the corruption. She's even said, hey, they're violating the law. They're not doing anything. So they're saying we're going to let the feds do it. So I'm like, this is like one of the first times where you have a state who the governor, AG, controller all know this person's doing illegal stuff and says we're not going to investigate it because the feds are going to investigate it. Now, the feds only investigate obviously crimes, federal crimes. So all these state crimes that she's breaking, they're like, and the governor himself said we're going to trust Lori Lightfoot because she was a former mayor. I'm like, you have the state police, you have all this, but they're just so now people are trying to figure out why. Is it because she's a Democrat? Is it because Illinois is just so? It's just none of this makes any sense. So she's right now still in power, still spending the town's money, still hasn't had any audit of financials. It's so bad. To show you guys how bad some of the spending is, there was something like $30,000 they spent on the credit cards in a one day on Amazon.
They were spending what was it? $400,000 a year on leasing luxury SUVs
Yes.
for the mayor and her entourage.
Well, what about the guy who got paid for every waking hour saved too?
Yes.
Oh no, for all hours. Like
for all hours.
he got paid for, I mean, quite literally an entire week's with zero sleep.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
But okay, so this is the thing though. This is the biggest problem I have with this is the state, the city, the county, all these different levels are not willing to step up. And instead you got to go run to the federal government to solve your problems. This is the fundamental issue we have in this country, period. But this is what allows these politicians to get away with this, because nobody at any local, county, or state level is willing to do anything to correct the situation.
Well, if this is, I do feel sorry for him, and Nate, maybe you could fill it in, because the county supervisors, from my understanding, she got voted in, and the residents were like, they voted for her out in a recall.
They did,
and they still can't get rid of her. So I feel like the supervisors and the citizens are doing everything they can possibly do. How is she still there?
Well, the thing we had this issue a number of years ago with the mayor of City of Detroit, Kwame Kilpatrick. If you guys remember him, hookers were dying. There was kickbacks and paybacks, and there was a ton of public money spent in corruption scandals and things like that. And he was eventually prosecuted at the state level, and then also, I believe, the federal level, although I didn't really follow that too well. But the Wayne County prosecutor, Kim Worthy, who's been there for as long as I can remember, and you could say what you want about her, she stepped up and prosecuted this guy and got him the hell out of here. I think he's Texas's problem now. But but that was a city that stepped up, a county that stepped up, a state that stepped up, and then the feds sort of cleaned up the rest of the mess. That's what needs to happen here.
I don't know. I mean, is that happening, Nate? Because I think, didn't the state refuse to give payments to the township now that they normally pay or whatever? So
because they all, it's funny because the governor actually gave a press conference. Say, I see the corruption. It's obviously messed up. But we're going to let but he said particularly, we don't want to duplicate work. So we're going to let the FBI handle it. And they have Lori Lightfoot, so we're going to let her handle it. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, you're the governor, and and then the AG comes out and says,
their AG is what I want to know. Shouldn't the attorney general be the one putting forth an investigation in that state?
Yes, but they're not. Well, you have the local DA, the Cook County DA. Obviously, Cook County. The Cook County DA is over Henyard. They're not investigating anything. The AG isn't. They're not investigating. And the comptroller literally did an interview and said, "Hey, they're violating the law, but they're not investigating." And then when they asked the governor said, "Hey, we can have the state police. They have a public integrity unit to investigate. We're not going to have them do it because the FBI is already doing it." So everybody's just like kind of passing the ball and letting this woman just go crazy, just literally go crazy.
You know what this sounds like? There was an article, and I think I sent it to you, Nate, a couple months ago. I'd have to find it. Did you know that the number one drug distribution point in the world is the Los Angeles airport? The Los Angeles International Airport. I kid you not. And this sheriff out of Florida has busted open. They literally are shipping out of Los Angeles suitcases full of drugs. And it's not like, wrapped in clothes or hidden in a canister or whatever. No, literally the suitcase is completely full of whatever drugs, cocaine, heroin, whatever it is. And they did a great job investigating Channel 9 in LA or whatever. They asked the TSA, and the TSA said, yeah, well, we look for weapons and explosives, and drugs aren't weapons or explosives. Then you had the city people saying, well, no, that's in the airport, so you're leaving our zone. Then you had the FBI saying, no, if it gets on the plane, then we can maybe look at it, but the plane's off the ground somewhere, so what are we going to do about it? And everybody had an excuse as to why they weren't doing anything about it. Meanwhile, the drugs go from there, and it's international. I mean, these drugs are flying out of LAX all over the country, but also to like Australia and other places. It's completely insane. Is this an example of that with Illinois?
No, I think it's a couple. I think there's a couple of different factors. I think one factor is just I think nobody wants to own the fact that this is happening, and it seems like it's a town of 20,000 people, so it's kind of like, that type of thing. But I think now, because it's become such a big story, because don't forget, when I first covered it, I just thought it was like some kooky little story. I was like, wow, this mayor of the little town is going insane-o, right? This is obviously going to be stopped. But now the pressure is not. It's weird because the pressure wasn't. This is one of those few stories where I think YouTube commentators really got the ball rolling, because at first when we covered the story, it was like maybe 1,000, couple of thousand views. But then the things that she was doing was so insane-o that those 1,000 views became million view videos. Like I have like 3 million view videos just about this. In every video, people are like, I can't believe this is happening. And 50% of the people watching these videos are not from the United States. They're from people like they're from South Africa and Indonesia and Pakistan, because they were literally in the comments, they say, we didn't believe the United States could have politicians as corrupt as our own. we thought it was different in America, but she's literally an African warlord in the United States. So that's like half the people who watch that content are shocked that this can even happen in the United States. So I think it's a little bit of, she just kind of fell between the cracks, and now it's kind of like, what do you do? Because the governor's not doing it. If the weird part about it is that it's been going on so long and it's so obvious that it makes you think, like, how bad is our justice system? Because if Trump sneezes, you got an FBI investigation, everybody's all over it, right? If he sneezes, and there's a lot of that happening, but this woman can openly steal millions of dollars from her constituents and have police officers who work essentially, like you said, on a 2-week period, he worked almost every single hour. It's obvious corruption. And see, not only is she not, there's essentially they're saying they're investigating her, but there's no charges.
One of the biggest reasons why I hate the BS standing position that a lot of courts take. Oh, you don't have standing to do this. You don't have standing. And one of the, as a taxpayer, you don't have standing to sue your local government about, how the taxes are used and stuff. Because a civil suit by the citizens of the town, could potentially open this up and could do something, but the courts are going to throw it out for lack of standing to begin with. But that could be another potential avenue if the judicial system would allow such a thing.
Well, the board of directors has sued but the judges haven't been friendly to the board. The town has actually recalled her and voted her out, but then they said, well, you didn't follow the exact process, so we let her back in. So then they were like, it's just been, unfortunately, these people have been held hostage, not just by this woman, but also by the system that's keeping her in power. You know what I'm saying? And I think those are like the two things that are making it
The
work.
other thing that amazes me about this is, like, if I'm her, right? If I'm essentially stealing money and using it for my own personal uses, and I've got the state, while they're not technically investigating, is sort of kind of like, oh, hey, we know the comptroller said this isn't right. We got the feds maybe dicking around. Maybe just like quietly move away, just quietly leave and be done with this, instead of doubling down and posting a video. And, it's just, at some point you got to realize, like, hey, all right, I got it while the getting was good, and now I've got to go.
No, and remember, Nate, a couple of weeks ago, a lot of people, and everyone is doing reaction videos off your videos. So, yeah. And people are saying, well, she's out of the country by now. There's no way she's still that.
Oh no.
She obviously, she's got to have a screw loose.
Yeah, and it's funny because everybody thought she had to run. It's like, you gotta run. It's like all the corruption's there. She didn't. Not only did she not run, she went and spent more money. like this woman is crazy. Here is her. Let me play this. So this is literally how bad it is. It's insane though. So this is the clip everybody loves about her playing her with the taxpayers. Character played by Wesley Snipes in the 1980s drama. She's going to be threatening the taxpayers of her city because she wants her money. Check it out.
Nobody knows something. Don't nobody know nothing.
Tiffany Henyard certainly isn't shy about attracting attention. Here she is starting a Dolton Village board meeting dressed like the Wesley Snipes character in the movie New Jack City, later punctuating her political points with the help of her own DJ.
Every single resident. Pay me what you owe me. Thank you, DJ.
That's the mayor. Every single resident. Pay me what you owe me. Thank you. DJ. That's crazy.
I like it. Well, what you owe me, not what you owe the city. No, her statement right there is literally showing her focus of mind. She quite literally thinks that she's a queen or something, and they owe her, not that she's the mayor. I mean, think about that mentality. And I think if you look at the way she's spending whatever she's doing, she's saying, this is my money. You owe me, not the city, my money. And that's a psycho.
This just has like Walking Dead sort of vibes, where there's like these little compounds and like the governor is really just a dictator. She's got like her own little compound here where she's just declared herself dictator for life. This is amazing that this is still how long she's been in? How long has this been going on? Like a couple of years, right?
2 years. Two years has been going on. Like here's the one we were just talking about, the overtime. This is crazy. Like, this is the police overtime. $13,000 in overtime.
On the giant without overtime is 80 hours. The officers are paid every 2 weeks, which without overtime is 80 hours. But when they're put on Henyard's detail, that 80 hours balloons to well over 100 hours, sometimes 200 hours. And in the case of Officer Terry Young last May, 303 hours worked over a 2-week period. That resulted in a single paycheck of more than $13,000.
How does a person put in a 2-week pay period, 303 hours? That's impossible. That's impossible.
336
Does he never go to sleep?
In fact, there are 336 hours total in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks, there are only 336 hours. He got paid for 303 hours. So that means there's only 2 hours every day he wasn't paid for.
That's well, she's paying her bodyguards. You got to do that,
She's come on. This is, it's obvious. Like, how more obvious can the corruption be, right?
I wonder how much of that check ended up back to her.
It's her money, Dave. Again,
yeah, pay me my money.
She has the bank. She has the accounts. That's her money. And their pesky, county supervisors or whatever are just annoying little chitterers in her ear.
But this is what this is where the state government is supposed to come in and put them into receivership, and I mean this is why there's a state government, is so that no little one-horse town can just turn itself into a into a private, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it's preposterous. And
Ron, do you see any federal cause of action here?
I'm sure there's plenty.
There has to be.
Of course, yeah, because
there has to be wire fraud. There's always wire fraud. What else? I don't know. I mean, obviously, if the FBI, the least effective and credible law enforcement agency in America, has bothered to actually take action in the direction of a Democratic politician, that tells you something.
Oh, hold on. They are right now. Ask Eric Adams how things are going.
Yeah,
they put out a tweet that said that they're investigating, right? That's a problem.
Well, okay. I hate to defend the FBI of all people, but is it a case, Nate, you've been around them or whatever? I mean, are they just collecting all this stuff and then like in a year or two it's going to drop? She'll have 407 charges on a marathon indictment that would put her under Alcatraz.
So from my dealings with the FBI, the one thing they don't like to do, they like to have the case that's almost impossible for them to lose. That's why the feds have like this 99% conviction rate. They like to try to like get you to the point where, because they like flippers, they like people to flip. So that's generally what they do. So here, I'm assuming they essentially, when they hand you a package, they like to hand you a there's it has everything. There's no reason, there's nothing else that you need to do. So with this case, again, this is all speculation by me. They arrested her police chief, and he's now facing 9 charges and like 20 years in prison. Right, that was her police chief. So they want him to flip, and his lawyer said they're trying to get him to flip. her number one, the person that was running the day to day. They arrested him and indicted him. So they're asking him to flip it. His lawyer said, yeah, they want him to flip. So the FBI, so if you get all these people flipping, that's essentially what they do. They try to get you on your little dirt that they can, get you up on charges, and then see if you'll flip on the boss. Now, I think with this particular case, I don't really know why you need all these people to flip when it's a paper case. And the lawyers know what I'm talking about when I talk about a paper case.
That's what bothers me.
This is all about documents. This is all about bank receipts. This is all paper. This is all, did you follow these right procedures? And it's obviously that she did. Like, for instance, with the Tahoes, that Ron mentioned earlier. You have to have 2 signatures on a bank check. She only had 1 signature on the bank check. And the vehicle, if you bought it outright, it's $70,000. She leased it for $159,000. She leased it for double the price. Ugh. But she has to give the car back after 3 years.
Here's my issue,
for $150,000. She can buy it for $70,000, but leases it for $150,000. It makes none of this makes any sense. Obviously, people are saying that's probably a kickback scheme.
Yeah, Nate, what bothers me, and I'm sure a lot of the audience feels this way too, is the people are continuously being defrauded here, right? You mentioned that they went from having literally a surplus to now they're $6 million in the hole. At what point, if they busted her when she was $100,000 in the hole, they'd be $5,900,000 better. This is continuing to harm the poor people, the taxpayers there. And at what point do we stop their bleeding? Because they're bleeding out right now, and she's just dancing in the blood.
But this, I also think, and I'm just going to be straight up honest, I think this is a DEI issue in terms of when she was elected as the first Black woman mayor, the first Black woman supervisor, the first Black woman is, and I think that is causing people to say, like they were saying, oh, there's going to be growing pains, there's going to be this, and it's hard because don't forget she went to Biden, invited her to the White House, she went to the White House with Biden and everything. That is making people skeptical because you don't want to tear this person down, her being such a beacon of DEI. But I think at the point, the people.
Nate, I watched your videos. All the people yelling at her are Black.
Yeah, but don't you remember what she said about they're attacking her because she's Black?
Yes, those Black people are attacking her because I mean, this is the same logic as Larry Elder being the blackface of white supremacy. I mean, come on, everybody involved in this case is Black. This is not racial in any way, shape, or form. Isn't the majority of the town Black?
It's 92% Black or something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
She says they're coming after her because she's Black. She's Black, and this is the FBI is after a Black woman. So.
Yeah, I'm with Mads. It must be internalized racism. Has to be.
But this is the same thing. Like Ron, remember that case about the judge that had to be dragged out after she was found guilty, and she had to be dragged out. And what's the first thing she said?
I mean, this racism stuff has deformed an entire subsector section of society.
Yeah, because the only thing you have to do is just say racism. Even literally, she was convicted, dragged out of court, and she starts screaming racism. It's like, but you did all this stuff. So, and I think people are now using that as like a cultural. And I think here, unfortunately, because we talk about the Democrats, it's a Democrat state, Democratic, all these people, Kim Foxx, all the prosecutors, Democrat, and I think that's holding people back from this. So, but we'll see.
Okay, interesting. Dave just shared something that goes back to an earlier story, but people might be interested.
This was just sent to me on my Discord. That's interesting. If you can.
Here we go. Philip Anderson tweeted it, but it's saying, breaking, it's now confirmed that Kamala Harris cheated and rigged the debate. A whistleblower has come out and signed a non-disclosure agreement. Essentially saying that she had the questions ahead of time, et cetera, et cetera.
I don't believe it.
Yeah, I don't believe it. I have
that story. We've been promised that for 2 days now,
and that she would not be fact checked as well.
But she was fact checked twice. She was fact checked twice.
I don't think it was necessary. The deal was just this: when they ask about immigration, doesn't matter what the question is. Here's your speech.
Yeah,
talk about crowds.
When they ask about the last 4 years, the first answer, she didn't remotely answer the question. She just gave a speech. The only thing they had to know was that these moderators aren't going to be a problem. You don't have to answer the question. They're not going to follow up with you. They're just going to follow up with Orange Man, okay? That's why it wasn't necessary for her to have the questions. They knew there'd be an immigration question. Here's what you're going to say. They knew that there would be an abortion question. Here's what you're going to say. It doesn't, and you're going to give a speech about Project 2020. Like, just these, there were talking points. She delivered them as well as you could hope. That was the best possible strategy she could have employed, because the framework was not one of legitimate questioning.
Yeah,
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I think at the end of the day, because I thought Trump won on points, but I agree with a lot of Trump's policies over Kamala's policies, and I think it's more.
Well, he actually did say policies, so that's the difference right there.
But I think there are a couple of things that hurt him a lot, and I think the one, like the Obamacare question, what's your plan? And I don't really have a plan. I have concepts. That I think hurt, because that goes on the thing, and I said that at the time. I think that hurts, and I think Kamala was playing to win a debate, not really any substance. So in other words, let me look good for the camera. Let me, she's doing the whole, make sure I continuously look good for the camera, make sure I continuously perform, make sure I throw poison pills out there to get him off his point. Immigration is a win for Trump, but she threw in the whole, go look at his crowd sizes and see, ain't nobody looking at this guy's crowd. And it forces him to, and he goes and just eats that right up.
He took the bait.
He jumped on. He could have just knocked that away and then gone right back into, she didn't answer the question. It's frustrating because we've seen him do it. We have seen him do it. Remember Megyn Kelly going after him, and she even admitted, talking about, she's like, I got nailed with one of those when he goes, only Rosie O'Donnell. I mean, that was one of the classic moments.
That was
when they smeared it, and he just batted it right off. He honestly acted like, and I could be wrong, I don't think he actually practiced this debate at all. I think the only thing he was good on was his closing statement, and I think that was the only thing he actually had prepared ahead of time. I think the rest of it, he was winging. It felt like he was winging it going in.
He might have been winging it, but I don't feel like that's the only part that he did well. Particularly, like I mentioned before, the one response where he had about the Republicans that jumped ship and are supporting Kamala and not him. And he's like, yeah, those are the ones I fired. But I thought he had a few good jabs. He might have been winging it, but I don't know.
No, I think Trump, because if you really talk about some of the substance of the debate, first about like the tariffs. And she was like, well, Trump's plan is just a tariff and it's a national sales tax. I think his rebuttal to that was fantastic. Well, the fact of the matter is you kept those tariffs that you say is a sales tax, you still kept them up, right? You have them on today. So if there's such a sales tax and it's so horrible, why did you keep them? You could have taken them right now. About the border, his rebuttal to that was, you didn't need that big bill, right? You could close the border today on the other side of the executive order. Why don't you do it? Because you don't want to do it. And even, so I think his substantive rebuttals to her made sense, but I think he was just so, by her throwing in those poison pills, it focused him on that, and that I think took away from a lot of the substance of what he was trying to get over. Because again, he's done this. He knows the way he crushed Biden. I think he thought that he can do this kind of same thing, because her plan is essentially Biden's plan, but it just wasn't effective, because I think she was able to throw him off with those poison pills.
And he wasn't articulating as clearly as he often can, and I feel like a lot of the points were lost because you and I, and probably everybody here, knew what he was saying, but I'm going to call it the curse of knowledge. I'm going to say, if you walked into it and you knew nothing about anything, it wasn't clear exactly what he was saying, because he was giving almost a shorthand while he was flustered in the answers. So people who actually know the policies, they know that. Oh, and it matches up in their head. But for people who don't know it, I think it was very difficult.
That's his style. He's done it consistently throughout since 2015 or whatever. That's just been his style. And that's why we have such a great meme of, they're eating the dogs, because he doesn't give the background to the
No, I
situation.
don't mean, I don't mean
out.
a background. I'm talking about even on some of the larger points, with, God, like the bloodbath or the other, he didn't, he was rattled and he didn't clearly do it. His style is typically very clear. I want to build a big, beautiful wall, visual. People could see it, and it could be, could be a metaphor, it could be reality, but people understand wall that. He wasn't doing that. He kind of was in a mix, and I'm not blaming. He was obviously, what Megyn Kelly put it, he was like in a foxhole taking fire from all directions, and just trying to keep up. So that's very difficult, and I might perform poorly too. It was just very frustrating for him to have these little softballs that were, teed up to him, and to go chasing down the line. Like Kamala Harris was really in the corner about the border policy. They said, why is it you waited until 6 months before election to actually enforce anything? As you said, yeah, I'm going to do something different. Did you notice in his crowds? And then he just went right on the crowds. He completely, and that was a deadly damaging point. That honestly felt to me like in case of emergency, break glass with this statement. And she played that beautifully. He jumped on it. He could have batted it quickly, saying, whatever, I don't pay people to show up in buses, and then address the question.
Exactly.
And that one statement would have been memeable and have people going, what is he talking about? Paying people to get buses, but he'd still be answering the question. They can say, notice she didn't answer. She didn't answer. And then the other one I was just frustrated with is at the end, he said, why didn't they do it yet? Right? Why didn't they do it yet? That was great at the end. Why didn't he do that every single time? Every single question he should have said, are you better off now than you were before? Are you better off now than you were before? Or why haven't they done that? Well, when she said, the first question, he whiffed that because she goes, they said, what, are people better off now than they were before? Essentially, that was the question overall. And she said, I'm of a middle-class family. What?
Yeah, you're right. You knew that was a non-responsive the second she opened up her mouth.
Yes.
And they just sat there and said, bring it on, Queen.
No, but I think
that was a Trump moment, right?
He should have said, no, you're not. He's like, you why she can't answer that question? Because you're not better off, and she knows it. That's why she didn't answer the question. And that would have destroyed that whole piece of it, right? It would literally, because you answered the question. You know what? She's not going to answer because she can't say yes because she knows the truth. It's a no. It's a no. And that's why we're debating now. No, you're not better 4 years off. That's why she can talk about her being from a middle-class family, because she knows that he could have eaten her alive with that. But instead, he went on rambling on about something else. So
immigration. He went right to immigration. And I get that immigration is a strong subject for him, but the economy's stupid. I'll go all the way back to Bill Clinton. It's the economy stupid. That right there is poison to her. He should have been like, of course, you're not answering. Or even, I hate to say a Reagan. There you go again. Another point, that has been made is, why didn't he attack the moderators? He famously attacks fake news. Why didn't he just say, I know what you're doing. You're fake news. You're fake news. You're attacking me. Where's she? Why didn't he do that?
Don't forget, though, he's coming out of the CNN debate where he did fantastic and he didn't attack them at all. So I'm thinking he went into this because, you have to kind of put it in the context of he's coming out of that debate where he killed Joe Biden so bad he got out the race. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking he kind of had a little confidence coming in here where, like, I can still kind of do, I can at least hold my own. I don't really have to worry about the moderators.
And I mean, Trump's human, right? At the end of the day, we all fall for this, is that sometimes when you get a little too confident and you walk into a situation a little too confident, it's bad for you. And you need that nervousness, you need that preparation in order to do well on something. And if you're too confident, you'll just fall flat on your face. And that seemed like that's what happened here.
So you're saying you think Trump lost the debate?
I mean, I don't think he won it. But it wasn't like a loss like Biden lost the first one.
No, I
think it looked bad. I think Trump looked bad in this one. Now, I don't think Kamala looked good, but I think Trump looked bad.
If it makes sense, I'm going to say that I think that Trump lost, but she didn't win.
Yeah, that's a good
I know
way
if
to
that
say
makes sense, but he lost. Okay. He visually, she did better and all that. However, when I look at some of the polls and stuff of the undecideds after, that was very interesting how some of them actually switched to Trump, even over that debate. So I don't know that she actually presented a case for herself. She didn't, she let Trump, destroy himself, but I don't think she did anything affirmative for her. Nobody understands any policies. Nobody understands anything
The
from
polling
her.
says
problem-
she didn't.
Yeah,
The polling says she didn't.
No,
The
but the polling
problem
this
for
morning came out.
her
It says that
is-
she did.
Yeah, but she's a political meme. I mean, she's the stereotype of a politician that you see on SNL, with their canned answers and little cackles and things like that. And I think that probably turned a lot of people off. But I think that's how she, lost maybe.
And it's an
people.
interesting point here too. Yeah, the boxer that wins the fight does not ask for another fight right away.
That's true. Yeah, but I would also say this though, if the one thing also that bothered me about Trump a little bit is because there was really nothing new that he was saying. Like everything was kind of like the same. If you've watched one Trump debate or one Trump speech, you kind of seen them all, that type of thing. So I would have liked to see him just maybe just give us a little something different. But again, it's been working for him so far. So maybe he just got kind of used to it. And I think she was kind of Harris's plan was to get under Trump's skin. It wasn't really to be any substantive here. It was to get under his skin, get him talking about stuff that was irrelevant, and then get out where if I'm even, it's a win, right? If I'm even, it's a win. But if I can get him to talk about things that don't hurt me. So that's when you talk about immigration, start throwing out crowds. When you talk about this, start throwing out this, because you know for a fact that if you can get him off the actual topic and actual policies, then you can win. And I think one thing that when you really look at the debate, there was one part in there where they talked about abortion, and that's obviously her strength. But the moderator said, "Well, are you looking, or are you in are there any restrictions you would have for an abortion?" Essentially talking about late-term abortion, right? 9-month abortion, everything. And she didn't answer that at all. And I think that at that point,
and then the moderator bailed her out.
I think, but at that point, when it gets back to Trump, this is exactly what I've been talking about.
That
right?
was a high point for Trump, though, because he said, "How long? It's 9 months, 6 months. What is it?"
Yeah.
When he confronted her directly, I wish he did more of that. That was a good moment for Trump in a bad subject for himself. When
Exactly.
he said, "How long?"
You could take that and make her now the radical, right? Look at her. She didn't even answer the question. She's radical again, right? Instead of abortion ban, she wants abortions at 9 months. You asked her with restrictions. She didn't say any restrictions. So that's what I'm talking. So I think there were so many just missed opportunities. But I felt like myself answering for Trump, like this is what he should say, instead of him actually saying it. That makes sense.
Well, his worst offense, I think, had to be when she came up with that lie, the lie about Charlottesville, right? And he said, Laura Ingraham says it's not. It's like, don't use Laura Ingraham. You use Snopes. I mean, Snopes hates Republicans. Snopes hates Trump. If Snopes itself, fact checker for the left extraordinaire, says that it's not true, but to say that is like Fox says that, it was just like the worst possible answer. And that one, I'm going to ding him because he knows they did it. Biden did it. She did it. That's one of those. He knows it's coming. Snopes disproved it. It's right there. There are certain little, a short list of things that I think it's like, this is coming. You should have it polished up, ready to tee right back. I don't know. And somebody in chat saying it's Tulsi's fault. Why didn't Tulsi make him do better? I don't know. I don't know if Trump was listening to Tulsi or not listening to Tulsi. It all depends. But this might be a praise for Chris Christie, by the way, because Chris Christie did a lot of Trump's preparation. If you guys remember back in 2016 when he was really good. I mean,
let me just. I do want to speak on the Tulsi Gabbard issue. Like people are saying she destroyed Kamala. She had one moment against her, and that was the debate with like 5 or 6 different people. That's a totally different thing than what happened the other day. So Tulsi, she got her once, right? She had a good moment once, but that doesn't mean she's some expert in destroying Kamala Harris. If it was a one-on-one debate, then maybe, but I don't think that was helpful at all. So,
hey, do you think she had a microphone in her ear?
Nah, that wasn't. Those were earrings. She didn't need one. Literally,
I know she didn't. I don't think
these
she
are all
needed one.
canned answers. Like literally, the first question was a canned response. She didn't even. It was like whatever the question was, she was going to say what she said, no matter what that first question was. No matter what it was.
Tulsi's claiming that she did try and he didn't want to be rehearsed.
That's what Tulsi's saying now?
I don't know. Maybe it's an interview. I can't believe she would say that out loud.
I'd have to say that. See that.
I mean, I believe that's probably the case, but I can't see Tulsi going around and saying that out loud in an interview. No, that's.
I have to believe her answers were genuine, by Francis.
They
were so. She is the meme. I mean, you see her in press conferences and everything else. She talks the same way. She says the same canned answers.
Oh yeah.
She doesn't answer, or she answers by not answering.
Yes. Okay, I've got a couple stories that have been kicking around, but I thought we'd close out on a subject that I find really interesting. But I'd love to hear you guys because I think it's problematic, or it could be. AI is invading our lives, whatever you want to call it, LLMs, machine learning, or AI. But colloquially speaking, we're just saying AI. It's all the same thing. So I've got a couple stories here. You've got cops now who are starting to use AI to write crime reports. And this is a case of an officer, Sergeant Matt Gilmer, and his dog were searching. Now, he has a radio that, or like a necklace. I think Limitless is doing one now. But anyway, he has essentially something that was recording everything he said and everything that was said at the scene. And then he's using AI to say, okay, so spit out a crime report on what happened. Mm-hmm. And he's, using it to write the first draft.
Like a YouTube subject AI thing where you jump onto a YouTube live stream and it says, this panel is discussing such and such.
Yeah.
Correct. But it's literally or Zoom meetings, because they now have Zoom where it gives you notes for the whole meeting or whatever. But here's literally his statement. It was a better report than I could have ever written, and it was 100% accurate. It flowed better, Gilmore said. Even documented a fact he didn't remember hearing, another officer's mention of the color of the car the suspects ran from. Mm-hmm. I'm curious what you guys think, because that right there, people can say, oh, that's great. I find that troubling, because now isn't the spirit of the report supposed to be his own integrity, not another source that's feeding him information. So he's being influenced now, literally in his statement, by the AI, by something that was picked up. I don't know. Well, I have problems with some of this, but I'm curious.
All right. So I used to have to read so many officers' reports. So I'll show you how old I am. When I started in law enforcement, they were handwriting reports. And just imagine reading that crap, right? And then, so then we moved from handwritten reports, literally handwritten reports, put in a file, to files for being on a computer, and then people typing that in. And just imagine how bad that was, because now you're typing it in, but you're typing in all bad, names wrong. So what we did was we actually started having templates, robbery, because certain crimes are robbery. We need to know who, what, when, where, color, like that type of thing, and people just kind of fill in the narrative. You didn't have to write the whole narrative, fill in the facts. So I think AI, I assume what they're using AI for now is that when a police officer takes the initial report, you're not supposed to put in any color. You're supposed to just say, here's the factual representation of what I got from witnesses, what I saw from the scene. That type of
color in. I was saying he missed the color of the
yes. Color. So so I'm saying even like that. If that's a fact that should be in there, but it was recorded, then you want all those facts to be in there to have a report that's just factually grounded. Now, if you're talking about people's interpretations or trying to regurgitate what someone said, or they get an interview or something, I think that may be an issue.
But now he's in the court. Okay, so now he's going to testify. How do I know? Because he's now written out this criminal report, and we've already got a piece of information here that's interesting. Officer, you saw that the car was red? Well, no, he in fact didn't.
Yeah, he's
testified. So I'm just saying, at what point are we, can we cross-examine the AI
All right,
Like
but
we
hold
could
on.
cross-examine the officer. It is important.
The officer from what you read, he didn't say he saw it. He said somebody else reported the color of the car. So in his report,
And that
it would
the
be
AI
like,
picked it up.
yeah. So the report would be like, this officer here reported the color of the car was blah 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 blah. So if you were in court, you would say, yeah, in that particular case, that officer.
This is okay. So let's start off with the understanding that police reports are not admissible as evidence. You can use them to impeach an officer or to refresh an officer's recollection, but they themselves are not admissible as evidence. So let's start with that understanding. Now, if, say, the witness who supposedly saw the color of the car is testifying that he didn't, and then you could almost impeach that witness and say, well, why would it be in a police report? And then that police officer is called to the stand saying, why is it in there? He's like, oh, AI put it in there. It's just going to cause all kinds of issues. I don't like it. If the idea is that it summarizes everything and then the officer goes back independently to verify the information that he himself recalls, that's different. But in that article, he's saying that it identified the color of a car that I didn't even remember was said to me. That's a problem.
And how do we know for certain? And this is the problem. And I'll go with the slippery slope, which is supposedly a fallacy. But okay, we now have the AI doing it, and you're saying, okay, great, you're using the AI for the first draft, but you go in there and you diligently go through this. Oh, bullshit! You know that over time, it's just too much easier. It's late in the day. Yeah, looks like that's what happened. Good, and you file it. Come on. We tend to not be. We might be a little more diligent to start, but over time, then now the AI is just writing the report.
And that seems like it's even. Sorry, I was going to say that seems like it's even more work. Nate, you would agree? Like if you sit down to write something, you could just write it in paragraph form. This happened, then this happened, then I talked to this person who told me this, and you're typing it out. But now, if you've got to go through and like independently verify, you got to read it more carefully. It takes longer, so that defeats the purpose.
Yeah, definitely 100%. But I'm assuming from what Eric read, and maybe I may be he recorded all his conversations, downloaded those recordings, fed it to the AI, and the AI kind of gives you the report, right? And
well, the AI summarized it.
Yeah, and
spitting it out. It was recording at the time. It's a device that has AI built into it.
So then he says, yeah, and this fact that someone told me I didn't remember, but the AI caught it and put it within the summary. Like I don't see any issue with that unless the AI is making up facts. Because again, the initial police report is supposed to be a factual document about what people saw and said.
And there is a problem.
Yeah.
Have you heard of hallucinations? I mean, it's a real
AI.
thing.
If the AI hallucinates, yeah. But I'm saying I don't. But those are things that you'd have to make. Because remember the lawyer, the attorney who did his brief with AI. Mm-hmm. And it made up all these favorable cases for him, and he thought they were good, but didn't look up the cases. He's like, "Oh, this is great! The AI found these cases that wins my case." He submitted to the judge, and then both sides were looking at it. Even the judge was like, "None of these cases exist."
All right. Well, I deliberately said there's two stories, right?
Uh-huh.
So now I'm going to escalate this situation and get your input. Judge runs mini experiment with AI to help decide case.
Oh,
here we go. A federal judge said he turned to artificial intelligence programs like ChatGPT to help interpret a key legal term in a man's appeal of his more than 11-year prison sentence. And while he was initially spooked by slight variances in the answers, they generally believes the software could be a valuable tool. Now, again, I love the idea of tools. I love AI.
It's legal research. If he's using it to do legal and not factual, Ninth Circuit just overturned a judge for doing field trips. In other words, for radically not just like opening up your eyes and seeing what's obvious, but investigating factual questions with a jury. That's out of control, and AI shouldn't be used for that either. But if a judge is wrestling with an interpretation of a legal term, and there are only a limited number of cases, usually we rely on cases, right? By the way, the case research is now being powered by AI.
Yeah.
I would say I use LexisNexis. That's my primary legal research. And they have an AI tool where I can type in, hey, I need a case that talks specifically about a breach of contract for a whatever type of thing, and but the defendant has weak damage claim or something, and it'll spit out a bunch of cases for me, and it'll define different terms and things like that. That's AI helping me with the legal research, but at the end of the day, I'm still basing it off of the law that the AI has turned up.
Right. Other than the guy, other than the lawyer who used AI to write an argument and it made up bullshit cases that didn't exist.
I don't use Chat GBT. I use LexisNexis, which is a legal research software. Now, the article, it says that he uses AI like Chat GBT, but it doesn't say what platform he uses. But the one from Lexis is like Chat GBT, where you can say, hey, give me a bunch of cases or write an argument based around this, and it'll cite actual cases because that's what it does. It has millions of cases.
I guess my worry is, what about the independence of thought? Because he's like using the AI to help him decide on what this means. Well, then why do we have you? Why don't we just say, AI, okay, go ahead. Here are your facts. Go rule on it. And then just spit it out. Because if he's using the AI to do his thinking, if he's using the AI to do his interpretation or thinking for him, then why do we have him there?
I don't think it said that it made the decision for him or did the thinking for him. It was a tool that he wanted to use in order to maximize the amount of information that he could have at his disposal in deciding how to interpret an ambiguous term.
Yeah.
I mean, he still has to justify that interpretation in an opinion, and it's still subject to being appealed. I mean, that's called comfort, I know, if you lose it in the trial court level. But I don't see this as a gigantic problem.
As long as he's not literally cutting and pasting it into an opinion and just reading from it. If he's using it as part of his legal assessment of the situation, I don't necessarily have a problem with it.
Have you guys seen that? And I forgot what law school it was. They were trying to figure out if AI could work, so they had the law school exam, the final exam, and they put in like 5. They had AI from ChatGPT and all these different AI things, like do the exam. And each one of the AIs passed. Each one of the AIs passed the exam.
So like the essay questions.
Yeah. So it's like I think, and don't forget, where AI is at now is the worst it's ever going to be. Right now, it's only getting better every single ChatGPT.
Well, hold on though, but the garbage is in, garbage in, garbage out, Nate. So keep in mind that the same way you say it's only getting better, it's also only getting worse. And there have been multiple studies, especially last year, how the accuracy, especially in mathematics, that were coming out of ChatGPT or ChatGPT, whatever, were progressively getting worse over the summer. That 3.5 was doing better than 4, and 4 was starting to slip out because, again, you have hallucinations, you have different factors. So, while I love AI, believe me, I love AI. Nate knows I love AI. I use a lot of AI, but I think that there should really be caution going on. And there's also the problem of, I've been reading some stuff. We need more information. They've literally used up, I think, almost all available information that's been produced, all books, whatever it's out there. With the mistakes that are in there now, you need more information to keep feeding it to get it there. But if they don't fix the mistakes in there now, they get progressively worse.
Well, I will say this. My experience with AI from when it first came out to now, it is 1,000% a better product. Like before, I would even ask yourself, who's Nate the lawyer? It would give me all these craziness and all this. It would just make
Well, that's why he likes it, because it knows who Nate the lawyer is.
Now it does, yeah. But if you put in who is Ron Coleman lawyer, like it literally has gone from not knowing anything to now I can put in names of regular people who I know, and it will give you like good stuff. So I'm just saying it is evolving, and it's just like cell phones. At the beginning, it's going to be bad, but it gets better and better and better. And I don't fall into the trap of just because it does have some it's bad now, this means it's always going to be bad. I think it's going to improve. It is improving. And I think that eventually AI is going to be doing all these media, like the research and stuff like that. AI does it so much faster, so much better. It's just like eventually it's going to get there where it's just going to be like, okay, we're going to have AI write these briefs. We're going to have AI do this. It's happening now. It's just happening now. And I think the only issue that you're talking about or concern is that you want a human reviewer to make sure that whatever coming out is accurate. But eventually, it's just going to be. It's eventually when it has a good accuracy rate, people are going to be rechecking it again because they're going to say, okay, it's maybe confident that it can give me the right stuff.
Now, don't tell my opponents this, but I use ChatGPT to write a few demand letters on settlements. And I thanks. I used it. Now I did like change some things because it wasn't terribly accurate after I did it. But I've done it twice now where I said, write a demand letter convincing opposing counsel to settle, and I give a little bit of the fact pattern and stuff. Both of those cases had gone on for almost 2 years, and they both settled immediately after sending those letters. They were so convincing. I was like, ooh, I like the way that said. Ooh, I'm using that. And then, I modified a few things, and it worked. Those cases settled that I was amazed. It has some benefit.
All right, a couple of super chats here. Jenny, it's going to give us it. Could they not just play back the recording? Technically, yes, if people know to go look into it. If there's a recording, because again, it depends on the device. You would probably have to play back the body cameras, but a lot of those devices actually collect the information, but they don't record everything. It just collects and then spits out summaries, at least with Limitless and things like that. Fletcher Boy said, before we go, can we discuss NYC and the indictments? I don't know a lot about them, but from what I understand, the feds have been bugging the governor's ally, not governors, Mayor Adams, staff, etc. And
I think
bad things are coming down.
I think that's because of my video this morning. So the mayor, the head of the police department, police commissioner, the head of the schools, a whole bunch of people in the police department, and a whole bunch of the number 2, the deputy mayor, and the number 2 deputy mayor, all are under FBI investigation for various different things. So the police commissioner, what seems to have happened is that in New York City, if you go, the police department goes to nightclubs and they have police officers, patrol around nightclubs, and then they'll moonlight for those clubs. So the police, again, I want to make sure, allegedly there's a bribery scandal where the police commissioner's brother was going to these nightclubs because the police commissioner's brother is his twin brother. He also has police protection. So allegedly he's been going to
his twin brother, you said?
Yeah, the police commissioner's twin brother.
So he can walk around pretending to be the damn commissioner.
No, but they gave the police commissioner's twin brother police protection. So he was allegedly there was this pay to play scheme where we'll give you protection, but you pass a little bit extra, and we'll do all this particular. We'll ignore this particular stuff. So all the top brass is involved. So the police commissioner just resigned. Today was his last day of resignation because his stuff was raided. His all the top people at the NYPD, all their stuff was subpoenaed and raided. And the school's chancellor, who was brothers with the former chief of the department, his stuff was raided. His house was raided. So this is a whole alleged bribery scheme where they were getting a little extra dollars for police protection for nightclubs in Manhattan and I think in Brooklyn too. So it's going down now. The mayor himself has already been raided. I mean, already been subpoenaed. His stuff's taken because he was getting allegedly illegal campaign funds from foreign governments. We've heard that before, from Turkey. So we got that issue. So right now, right now they've been looking at getting rid of the mayor. So all the top people in the executive branch seem to have some type of FBI issue.
Well, his campaign manager got popped or got raided months ago, if I recall. So yeah. It's Eric Adams cannot be feeling very comfortable right now, in my opinion.
It's almost as bad as Dolton, to be honest with you, because when all the top people in the department are getting subpoenaed and raided by the feds, it's like, I think we might need to change leadership here. So,
well, I have a couple tips that came in. One that came in a while ago. It's like, oops, sorry. MJW Wine said a periodic renewal of my good-natured grievance that 90% of the time Viva is misusing bada boom, bada bing when what he means is bada tis. rim shot sound effect. Okay. And then Big Bill 767 said the tracking lines, red, Republican, blues, Dems, yellow, independent, show the independent and Republican line were right on top of each other. Independents were not buying her lines and were siding with Trump. And that's talking about the debate where I was saying that I don't know that she won, but he lost. But agree. But on that note, folks, to wrap things up here, I would love to know, Dave, what do you have coming up? What do you have going?
So I have a stream coming up. It's not posted yet regarding the father of the Georgia school pew-pewer. We're going to talk about his indictment and all that, and particularly in connection with the Crumbly case that I covered extensively last year or this past February. So that's coming up on my MLS channel. And then on my Lego Law Life channel, I have a stream for the next several weeks, actually. So this Saturday, tomorrow at 9 p.m., I have John Yates, celebrity blogger, coming in again for part 2. He's coming back. And then I have Schick Marancio. He's an actor, director, American living in Sweden. He'll be coming on. And then Ron is coming on in 4 weeks, I think. So Ron will be on our Lego Law Life. It'll be a good time. So check that out.
Imagine being planned out 4 weeks in advance. I can't even relate to this.
So that's what I got coming up.
What do you have coming up, Ron?
Well, coming up, I want to drop in the chat a link to the really, really good stream that I did with Danny on last night.
Do you have the link? Put it in the side chat, and I'll link it in the thing.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I really enjoyed it. I mean, we really got into some good stuff, and it was different. It's our 4th time out. We do it every 2 weeks, and part of my evolving video offerings. So thanks for asking, Eric, and thanks for having us on.
Of course. Nate, what do you have going?
I have a whole bunch of stuff happening, but one thing I've been having problems with YouTube because of some suppression issues. So a lot of my videos have been I don't want to say demonetized, but just copyright claimed. So I've been fighting with them with that. But obviously I have the first transgender mayor who's been kicked out of office from one of the most liberal cities in America, and they're saying that one of the most liberal cities in America is transphobic.
Oh, of course. So, it's like Dolton is racist. I got it.
Yeah. Dolton is racist, and this liberal city is transphobic. Then we also have the judge who went full racist and was removed from the bench. And then we have an update on our judge from Oklahoma who's been charged with 2 separate drive-by shootings, one in Texas and one at his brother's house. He's facing a life sentence, but he's still on the bench because it's hard to get a judge off the bench. So the judge is now on the bench. He's literally been indicted for 2 drive-by shootings, and he's facing a life prison sentence. And also we have some more crazy politicians. Like we just had the crazy politician from Louisiana who was just kicked out of office again, begrudgingly, because she was found to be stealing millions of dollars. And obviously her first thing is racism. So they're all racist against her stealing the millions of dollars. So we have those updates, but it'll be fun. So if you want to see politicians acting badly, hit the channel up and you'll start seeing them all together.
All right, now I'm going to pimp my latest endeavor. We are 4 weeks in of a new channel that I created called Proven Conspiracies, and nearly 6,500 subscribers. You guys have been amazing in supporting. Over 100,000 views, 6,500 subscribers. I'm dropping videos 3 times a week, and if you like conspiracies, especially ones that are actually real, these are acknowledged. They're in the history books, the CIA. A lot of these I literally pull off the CIA.gov site, etc. Coming out. I think you might enjoy this channel. People are really getting into it. Tomorrow's upcoming episode is about Operation Underworld. Operation Underworld is where the government, this is pre-CIA, so I'm going back even before the CIA. So ONI, in this case, Officer of Naval Intelligence, during World War II, worked with Lucky Luciano and Meyer Lansky to keep the ports safe in New York so the Germans wouldn't sabotage ships. It went even further, and they worked with them to find people in Sicily, etc., to help them in battles. Coming up after that will be the Phoebus cartel, because I'm not only covering government conspiracies, but corporate conspiracies. And the Phoebus cartel is a cabal of all things light bulb manufacturers who got together to determine that light bulbs were lasting too long. So they even had a lab set up with them that they had to send their designs to prove that their light bulbs were not lasting more than 1,000 hours or they were fined. And I'm tying it with planned obsolescence. Anybody getting a new iPhone? We're going to talk about Batterygate too as part of this overall subject. So if you guys like that kind of thing, proven conspiracies, I think you might enjoy it.
The Lucky Luciano is an interesting story.
Yeah, that's a fascinating story. Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool.
All right. And of course, while you're here, there's a button down below that you can subscribe to this channel and get to see luminaries like these folks or Nate and enjoy seeing the show every week. It's Friday at noon Eastern time, and it's so awesome to see everybody here.